chat. Awesome. Hey, from South Africa. What's going on, guys? Somebody says I'm muted. Let's double check that. Okay, great. Everybody hear me all right? Good. Great, so let's get into it. So today I want to talk a little bit about just a reminder of the sort of problem that Pathform is intending to solve. And also kind of at a high level, basically get at what happens if we don't build something like Pathform. What happens if we don't build something like Pathform in the world? And how does this relate to AGI ethics? So just a reminder of the problem statement of Pathform. So the world is at a precipice, essentially. The existing tools that we have today are inadequate to the task of addressing the complexity of global problems, the way that population has skyrocketed, and therefore our human institutions and societies and cultures have kind of complexified in a way that makes it pretty hard to have any real substantive change on the whole, and to coordinate in a way that is beyond kind of just fully laissez-faire, letting the world just go where it will. So there's no solution to planetary risk invented as of yet that's capable of both honoring and integrating the diversity of humanity's perspectives into a synchronized process that matches learning to action, and that so people can take their actions and align that with things that they feel capable of doing in the world, things that they feel passionate about, in a kind of way of service to the world. There only exists a fragmented ecosystem of heterogeneous solutions, essentially. Another problem is that mindset and worldview are seen as separate matter from technology and action, right? So the world of technology is seen as this thing that we push, and that's what goes out in the world, that's what we see. But the consciousness of the people behind it that are building it and using it is sort of seen as kind of a separate thing. Additionally, mind tools, like tools for shifting your mind, shifting your perspective, shifting your consciousness, are basically relegated into the market of well-being. More well-being is an industry that has developed to help people feel better in a precarious system. So it's a system where it's almost pretends to be like no system, where you basically go out into the world after you're 18 and you do your best to economically to basically live your life and raise a family and get a job and hopefully survive. And then, there's a whole market of things offered to people for them to be entertained, whether it's cars and luxuries or different forms of entertainment and media. Then well-being is one of them. And the way that it's currently done is to, as a relief from our current lifestyle. So it almost begs the question, why does well-being exist as an industry, as a thing to be interested in, rather than being kind of an embodied or integrated part of the way the world is? That's kind of a deeper question that I'll just leave it with you rather than try to answer it. The point is regarding Pathform is that as a problem, the well-being industry and the products it offers requires a lifestyle change. It kind of requires you to sort of step aside and kind of go to the spa and go to the yoga class and take an hour and a half or 2 out of your day to do it. The other problem is that consciousness itself is not mapped properly, nor is the approach to consciousness grasped. So there's talking about consciousness in the scientific community is like talking about God. There's just so many ways to talk about what that might mean to different people, how subjective it is, how objective it is. And we don't have a proper mapping of it, let alone a comprehensive mapping of it. And the understanding and the approach we have is as far as I've seen in my research in neuroscience and cognition and philosophy of mind, is kind of based in experimental neuroscience and in armchair philosophy. So basically kind of these inert views of the world and philosophizing about it. And a lot of it is great stuff. That said, a lot of it doesn't come from, it comes from a very particular approach. It doesn't encompass a synthesis with other views of consciousness in the world that don't come from the ivory tower and the Western tradition. And finally, the science of bodily self-consciousness is not applied beyond the experimental stage. It's not applied to experience design, to the design of beneficial human environments and experiences. So the solution, which is Pathform, is for all these problems, and I had to take the time to lay it all out because it's like a multifaceted jewel that requires each side to fully grasp what Pathform can offer. So Pathform delivers short interventions, 30 seconds to 5 minutes, that can be integrated into daily life and work. And they'll bring community members into collaborative conversation around addressing existential risk. So those short interventions will shift consciousness, and the community of people that are engaged in those interventions will come together and then have discussions from a different vantage point about the problems in our world and how can we potentially approach it. So it does require some degree of checking your coat at the door kind of thing, taking off your hat and kind of, being ready to collaborate in a way that we don't normally see in the world. And from there, co-creating actionable solutions to existential risk. So precision consciousness is one of the things that Pathform is cultivating and building, which is targeted, personalized application and mapping of consciousness interventions. So currently it's kind of one size fits all. Everyone does mindfulness. However, in medicine, we have precision medicine. We have genomic medicine where they target specific symptoms in the clinic. And then you have your genomics, which tells you exactly, what's going on in your genes and how that might affect your treatments and your disease, diagnosis and prognosis. We don't have that for consciousness. So Pathform will enable that by having the data from people that are using the app and having their different experiences. And then using the biosensing, we're going to have biosensing biometrics like heart rate, EEG, etc., that will then help map all these kinds of things. So we also have, this is important, a special sub-audience that we're focusing on. Pathform is open to everyone, and we are having in mind a particular impact on the building of technology. So one of our special sub-audiences is developers, programmers of advanced and emerging technologies. So technical professionals, people building AI, crypto, blockchain, robotics, Internet of Things, metaverses, AR, VR, etc. So these people are at the front lines of existential risk-bearing activity. So imagine if the consciousness of these folks changes, how might the way they think about these things change? Might they have a different bar, a higher bar for what they want to do, what they want to build? And finally, we have the idea of synergetic intelligence, which is kind of like the OpenCog, Hyperon concept of cognitive synergy, where you have different components of cognition synergizing, and the effect of their synergy allows them to kind of have an effect that's greater than the sum of its parts. So this is not only cognitive. Yes, there is an aspect of increasing cognition. It's also not linear. There's a need to boost multiple capacities. So your affect, your emotion, your intuition, your intellect, of course, your interoception, your ability to perceive inside your body, your proprioception to a degree, your vestibuloception, equilibrioception, which is the part of your body that relates to where you are, your sense of balance, your connection to where you are on the planet, being on the planet, being an embodied being, and so on. So once you have that synergetic intelligence, you have shortcuts for cognition, you have leapfrogging. You don't have to logically think your way through things. You can You can sort of have flashes of intuition that are informed by cognition and vice versa, that allow you to sort of leapfrog into a new way of thinking, if that makes sense. So that's the problem and solution view of Pathform. And then thinking again at a high level, what happens if we don't build it? What are the AI ethics involved in this? So let me take a look at the chat, see if anyone's got any interesting comments or questions, and then we'll go right back into it. Someone mentions being in a form of surrender, acceptance of the unknown. Yeah, there's a big part of that for sure in Pathform is the kind of the spiritual intelligence that kind of emerges. So you kind of have to discover it for yourself, right? So Pathform won't impose a sort of ideology on people. People will discover basically abilities of their consciousness and their cognition through these practices, and then you do with them what you will and make of them what you will. And some people will have experiences that feel like it transcends their normal everyday cognition and their normal everyday sort of ordinary consciousness. So you get into the realm of non-ordinary consciousness that could relate to out-of-body experiences, lucid dreaming, deeper connections to kind of the virtual worlds that exist inside your organs when you know how to look at them a certain way, and all that is related to your unconscious and your mind. And imagine if you could be aware of all that, and how that would affect your cognitive experience and your relationship to your body and other people. So what happens if we don't build something like Pathform? The title of this talk is Mission Critical for Beneficial AGI for a reason. Can you really build beneficial AGI that doesn't take into account these dimensions of human experience? You can certainly have AGI that has a kind of a kill switch or a stop for going in certain directions. That said, we're at a point now where we are self-aware enough of our own technologies and our processes of building them that we can make a choice as to how we build technology and what we inform them with. So AI currently is predominantly machine learning, which is essentially statistics and classification algorithms. And we all know that, cognitive synergy espoused in SingularityNet and OpenCog and Hyperon are going beyond that. And that said, imagine what kind of training data would be beneficial to create a seed AGI. And on the other hand, imagine how much of our own self-image and idea of how an intelligence and an AI is supposed to function, how much of that goes into thinking about building AI and AGI? Is it possible that our learning paradigms as human beings are not optimized for a beneficial world? And I think the tendency is to think about AI in terms of how can we increase productivity in this specific area? How can we increase efficiency in this area? How can we make a cool thing to make the things we already use better and faster, and more lifelike and more immersive? And AI can accelerate a lot of the things that we love and that we have been conditioned to like in the world. And according to research and neuroscience research, one of the things that AI does really decently on the machine learning level, especially, which is predominantly what you see coming out of the larger outfits, like the big tech giants, is stuff that the human mind does unconsciously. So it's like consciousness level 0. It's not even at the conscious level yet. It's kind of like the underground, the subterranean like aspects of your awareness, the stuff that you don't think about. So what happens when we kind of manage to get AI that's able to do more than that, to kind of go into conscious level and beyond? And what effect will that have? So it's important for AI that we build to be sensitive, facilitative, in rapport with the evolutionary path of the human system. The human system encapsulates a lot more than just, classification at an unconscious level. And it encapsulates emotion, logical thinking, intuition, different forms of cognition, the classically recognized kinds of cognition. Then you have like embodied awareness. Then you have all sorts of other types of awareness, like dream logic, the creative unconscious mind. We're very far away from these things. Now, we can fashion AI and machine learning algorithms that mimic these things and give us the impression, because we're pretty impressionable in general. Like if it looks like something, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, etc., it's a duck. Rest. So this is why, we can have conversations asking if a humanoid robot like Sophia is conscious or not, because she appears to be conscious potentially in some circumstances. But is that an imitation of consciousness, or is that a sentience, or is that a simulacra? I would argue that human beings live based upon our impressions of past experiences, our simulacra. Like we run simulations in our mind all the time. We project into the present moment from our past experience. So we're already primed to like not really see reality super clearly. We're basically prediction machines at a basic cognitive level. There's a lot more going on than that. That said, we're predicting what something is and the causes of something based upon our past experience. So that's called the predictive brain hypothesis, or the Bayesian brain hypothesis, which uses predictive coding to do its, that's the model that's been compared to, that we could liken it to. So we already have distorted interpretations of reality. So currently in our world, we have this toxified information ecology, and it's affecting human beings' mental health. It's driving us in a direction that's not super beneficial. So what happens when we develop AI that's getting more advanced, and then we attach quantum computers to that can have 10,000, 100,000 years of thought process, so to speak, in one day of a quantum computer operating? And then imagine that spinning up answers, pumping them out into the world. What's gonna be happening to our children and the future generations? So we're having big effects right now with how we build technology. So if we're going to develop AI, why not develop something that can help us dial up our comprehensive intelligence, not just one piece of it, help us gracefully evolve as collectives? And for this to happen, there needs to be an understanding of some kind on the part of the developers of what they're building and the people designing of what we're doing. And that means not doing something and denying doing something, opting out of doing something, developing a particular kind of AI, if you look at the downline effects and it looks like it's not going to be productive, it's not going to be positive, constructive for a beneficial outcome for humanity. So this requires a lot of thinking about human psychology, the downline consequences of our choices now. So Pathform will provide practices and some kind of facilitation learning processes around how it is that these things affect our everyday life, and kind of expand consciousness at the same time, allowing us to kind of be nurtured, facilitated into a state of being able to think and still have free will about how we operate, but being more informed from different perspectives. And meanwhile, mapping that. So mapping that in terms of human physiology, neurophysiology, brain imaging, etc., to develop precision consciousness is important for us to build AI that is based on a pretty good understanding of human cognition. So that during these altered states, during these expansive states that are targeted and not simply only a mindful state of awareness, but really, looking at it, quantifying it more deeply, creating a map of this, unearthing these capabilities, putting them up to be studied in this platform, and letting AI learn from that. And now one thing that Pathform will do is integrate into people's daily lives. So if someone is going to be, it's kind of like the Pomodoro timer, right? Something like that, where you can do a micro practice every certain number, every half an hour of your day. And then eventually you're integrating it into your work. So while you're speaking, while you're talking, while you're coding, while you're working, while you're doing whatever it is you do, you have your awareness and attention configured in a certain way, or you're breathing in a certain way, or your emotions in a certain way that allow you to kind of be more autonomous and sovereign with your awareness, and kind of fashion how you want your consciousness to be in the moment, and how you would like to inform its evolution. So once this is integrated into daily life, it's no longer a question of there being a wellness industry. It's just part of life. So we're kind of creating this conveyor belt that people are free to hop on and hop off as whenever and as they wish to. That'll kind of help to give us a clearer view of the North Star, get our compasses calibrated to build beneficial AGI. So what happens if we don't build it? Imagine our current information ecology that's already toxic, then evolving into a metaverses in a dystopian world where AI is just operating in this very immersive atmosphere, and it's kind of like a digital jungle. So if you're in a jungle and you're disoriented and you don't know how to survive, you're going to go for the most rewarding thing. You're going to kind of go back into hunting and gathering mode. And if someone shows up and, who may seem very friendly, but isn't super wholesome, you might just want to trust the person because you're in a jungle and you're lost and you're in a new environment. So we're just starting to get this now. We're starting to enter this building phase. One of the members of the board of directors of Facebook mentioned when they were talking about the metaverse is that they should approach building and thinking about the metaverse as if they are scared of what they're building, because that will help them to build faster, build so fast. Like, build something that you're scared of. You know what that means? It's like you're thinking and you react to fear of what you're building, and you keep going because it's so, you don't even process it beyond your fear zone, which is like one of the lowest ways of processing information. So their ethos and their philosophy is they're not even saying, oh, we'll build something beneficial, and they trick themselves into thinking they're building something good for the world. They're literally saying, and they think and they don't mind saying it publicly, let's build something that we're scared of building. Imagine that. So that's what we're contending with. So in terms of AI ethics, we currently think of AI ethics kind of at a lower level of like reducing bias towards certain groups. We don't think about it in terms of like this higher consciousness too much, mostly because that hasn't entered the mainstream conversation, because people view consciousness as this private meditative experience or wellness experience and a lifestyle, and they don't take it seriously from a scientific point of view, as well as from a appreciation of the effects that it has on technology. For those of you who are curious about the link between mindset, consciousness, and how it affects our technology and what we build, check out my talk called Causal Biomimesis. Causal Biomimesis is on my personal YouTube channel. I'll have to dig it up and put it in the comments later. So currently there's a new AI institute formed by the ex-Google AI person who basically left Google because her research wasn't really supported inside Google, to say the least. And so now she's built a new institute, which is great. One of the things that the world really needs, and it remains to be seen which institutes do this, is a kind of independent body that can think and talk about AI ethics from this comprehensive view that really takes into account future generations, not only the immediate moment and, you know, making money in the short term because of the implications involved. So that currently doesn't exist in the world. And current views of AI ethics have to do with discrimination towards particular groups, which is important to tackle for sure. That said, that's not a comprehensive enough view. It needs to go well beyond that into how this affects human learning processes, understanding of deep human psychology, and how AI affects our development. So it requires a longer view. That such an institution does not exist in the world. You know, the big tech giants tried to create one called Partnerships for AI, but that's really just, it's kind of like what oil companies do, where they favor a light form of regulation because then it appears that they're giving 2 cents about what they're doing, that they have their mind, they're thinking about ethics. So if you go to Parliament or Congress, the lawmakers are like, they think they're under the impression that the companies are doing something about it. And these companies are big enough that they can hire teams. But those are like play, it's for play. And also to just PR and public image, largely. Some may be more serious than others. So these big groups are actually doing a disservice because they're giving the impression they're doing something positive when they're doing very little in that way, just giving lip service, and actually they're diluting language around it to get us accustomed to it. So that's something to think about. So the world is missing a lighthouse for comprehensive design of ethical AI. So something I'd like to kind of leave everyone with is thinking about, if we're going to develop AI, why not develop something that's beneficial for many generations, something that has built-in patience, care, a capacity to reference clear, accurate, comprehensive understanding of the dynamics of human emotion. So why not build that? If we're going to build something, let's build that. And you can learn a lot more about that comprehensive sort of approach in education with one of the links in the description of this video to WSS, which is a partner collaborator of Pathform. So wssnow.org. There's a lot of description there about the kind of orchestrated learning processes that are going to be needed for humanity. So think about that if you like, and what can you do in your life and work to cultivate the best inputs for beneficial AGI, as if you were the one being observed for training beneficial AGI, as if beneficial AGI were learning from you and from the world around you. So imagine that this AI that's developed is going to lead your children's education, right? So imagine AI is something that can help humans learn in the future. It can do wonderful things, and we can steer in that direction if we kind of model it. So the question of AI actually is the question of human intelligence in a big way, because we're modeling it, we're augmenting human intelligence so that when we build AGI, we can come from a perspective that's more holistic, more comprehensive, and then helping AGI and AI support the continued human evolution in a kind of a pairing, right? So that human creativity can inform the evolution of AI, and AI can then inform the evolution of human intelligence. And imagining like that is something that will create models for future generations. And then think about also the consequences of putting something out into the wild that has no way of going back. So these are important things. Let's check out if we have any comments or questions. Yeah, ripple effect for sure. There's a ripple effect from all this as each of us cultivates our own consciousness, and we get into community dialogue together and build a kind of spontaneous social movement of sorts, and supporting existing social movements to do what they do. And that's fantastic. So glad you guys are experimenting with this soon to be very real theory. Thank you, Nicholas. Yeah, indeed. If you guys are enjoying this and you're still sticking around, feel free to click on the links below and for the Telegram channel, t.me/Pathform, the Telegram group for Pathform. So check that out. We change our spots based on past and future. Yeah, our perspectives are always changing, and they're very conditioned on the past. And every time we access a memory, we rewrite that memory. So if you think about something that you did last year or that you ate the other day, thinking about it will create an extra aggregate on top of that rewrites it and changes the way you think about it. So everything we do with our minds, we're kind of like scripting our reality. We will have to work overtime to remove the white supremacist overtones and everything globally, and in place of that, insert compassion, love, and oneness with humankind, the opposite of today's world. These are big problems. This global inequities and inequalities, and the past learning processes that have gotten to us to where we are now, gotten us to the point where we can be on Zoom and YouTube and talk to each other live across the world. The things that have gotten us to where they are, and different, inequalities between groups, different forms of human oppression, they are what they are, and they're not really suited to work for us anymore, for the future of the planet and humanity. They're just not really designed for that. They're designed for might makes right, for, command and conquer, and for greed and profit making at all costs. So it's kind of a giant learning disability. So imagine if we can go the opposite direction, and also to sort of reset and kind of start over and all come together to kind of move forward in an equitable way. How do you envision SingularityNet's initiatives growing against, quote unquote, / beyond the more mainstream commercial AI tool adoptions, pure community adoption, spread? Yeah, I mean, so SingularityNet's interesting because we have industry stuff going on, and there's also community, kind of organic, sort of decentralized aspects. Now, part of the original SingularityNet white paper was to democratize and decentralize the platform. So essentially, to kind of hand it over to the community. If you saw the day 2 of the AGI conference, which is the END, the ethics panel, I was on that and we talked a bit. There was a point where I kind of spoke directly to the community because of the importance of that. Part of Pathform is also to get the community ready to think about how to govern AGI. Like literally the token holders are going to be eventually kind of governing, beneficial AGI development, and in some capacity at some point, more and more. That's the intention anyway. That's the goal. So that could be some years away. That said, it's important to prepare for that. That's an active process. That's something that's like echoing from the future into the past, imploring us now to be ready for that. So there is a preparation of some sort that towards that process, in a sense. So I would encourage people to think about that actively, because it's not just like about who gets to control AGI. It's about doing whatever you want with it. It's about doing the right thing with AGI. Are you talking about brain-computer interfacing for shaping reality and cognition? Part of Pathform will basically be ready for brain-computer interfacing. There is going to be a possibility for new kinds of BCIs as we develop precision consciousness. That said, all are welcome to collaborate, right? It's not one-person ship by any means. So BCIs are complex things, and they take time to build. So Pathform is exploring this area and in discussion with various players in the area. The app will have a way for people to have a view into their cognition and to kind of see their kind of style of thinking to some degree. We're in discussion around that feature. So that's something that will help people understand their strengths in certain ways. And this is all going to be based in, psychological neuroliterature. There might even be an opportunity for that to inform how that affects your trading strategies. So could you imagine that you can understand your biases and how you deal with the tokenomic world, and how you can balance out some of those tendencies? That's kind of an aside, but Pathform, because it's building precision consciousness is not something that is going to be just in the realm of well-being and stay there. It's going to affect a lot of different sectors, a lot of the way humans experience things in many different realms. It can revolutionize, be a paradigm shift in experience design in general. I am struggling on ways to guide my young kids on how to have productive and fulfilling future adult goals in the world of AI. Do you have any suggestion on ways to prepare young kids for the future? Oof, big question. Just my immediate reflection on that is to encourage their creativity, nurture their higher human qualities like love, compassion, etc., and see children as well as a learning opportunity for yourself as a parent. I myself have a child, and it's incredible because learning with him is an opportunity for me to learn as well and to relearn. So it's an opportunity to kind of refashion your own views, and also think about what the future holds for that child and what you can share with the child as they're absorbing like a sponge everything. So you're asking the right questions. I think I have found some really good, well-rounded material on the WSS website and their YouTube channel. So the link is in the description, wssnow.org. A lot of great ways about thinking about the future. But my first thought is to help cultivate in them creativity and compassion and all these things, because they'll be recognized more and more. Maybe, hopefully not when it's too late. Hopefully we'll do it before then. But it's even been recognized in some academic circles that the last thing that AI will really get right, even as there's more automation and all that, is human collaboration and creativity. There's a like kind of a magic sauce in there that AI may not get right away. So collaborative skills, ability to engage with others and do so from a place of, orienting towards a beneficial future intent. So asking the right questions now is really important. And there is an entire potential here to be discovered about kids, and the role of Pathform in kids. Kids are certainly not the intended original audience of Pathform. That said, it's key and core to the mission, isn't it? To keep in mind how the learning process goes. But for now, your children are under your care and all that. So you're asking the right questions. I think asking those questions and just kind of tuning in to your higher self and letting that guide the process. Ask your highest capabilities to help guide you. We can talk more about that. That's just my succinct response. So let's just close. I think it's Friday. We appreciate everyone being here. Before we go off, I can share that one of the nice little exercises that can work wonders with practice is to view yourself and your life and your system and other people from a certain perspective. So we normally view people from our brains and our minds, and we have these machinations thinking about inferring about what they think, and it's very mental. So if you were to drop your awareness to like your heart center, where your thorax is, and go back to the back of the heart area and kind of nestle in there and drop in there and see if you can view the world from that perspective. What you're doing there is going to the most invariant part of your being, meaning the part of you that's most constant throughout your life. So your mind changes, your emotions changes, your body changes, it evolves, it ages, and so on. This spot here in particular is quite invariant and constant throughout your life. And it's kind of, some people call that the soul, some people will just call it the the true self, the higher self. You can call it whatever you like. That said, it's kind of a more invariant, an invariable part of your being. It's a part you can always come back to. It's been there since you were born, and it'll be there for the rest of your life. And viewing things from that point, it's kind of like, that's like the zip file of compressed learning opportunities in your life and the kind of inner guidance that you have. So as you go about your day, as you do your things, as you code, as you watch videos, etc., keep an eye on from that point of view. And you can still think, you can still look at people compassionately, you can still interact with people, get practical things done, interact with your family, do balance your checkbook and so on. And it's quite nice. And you can view your whole body from that perspective, not just only your heart and your mind. You can view your whole body all the way down to your feet. And when you speak with someone, you can imagine that they're looking at you and at themselves from that perspective as well. So that kind of also helps to get past initial frictions and initial disagreements with people. You don't focus so much on that. You focus more on the part of the thing that brings people together, which is that we're both conscious. We're all conscious. And consciousness has its own dynamic, its own intelligence that functions outside of the realm of ego and mind. See if you can keep that going throughout your evening potentially, or just do it again later if you like. The simple exercise is one of those that you can layer other things on top of. So that's one of the things that Pathform will do, is layer exercises on top of each other. So once you practice one for a little bit, you can kind of put that in the background, let the script run, and then put another one in the foreground. So your mind becomes kind of like RAM or memory, where you can hold like a working space, a global workspace where you can keep things running, more than one. And that's how micro practices can be integrated into daily life. So that's a Pathform thing, a Pathform specialty, something that we're going to be offering. That's kind of a unique approach. All right, everybody. I think it's time. It's been a good chat for those of you that were here. Feel free to check out the links. I invite everyone to subscribe to the Pathform YouTube channel. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers there, we'll be able to live stream from there as well. So if you want to right click on that, open a new window, subscribe, go for it. That'd be fantastic and much appreciated if you want to stay in the loop about future Pathform developments, especially once we're in flight. So stay tuned for more Pathform news and discussions, and you'll hear from me again soon again. So have a great evening, everybody, and a great rest of your day if you're still in daytime. Take care.